this one's an exciting one. This is Vinyl Man Jib of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio podcast section. This is Peter Goalby of Uriah Heep and Trapeze fame. What an honor to have you on, Peter, and glad that we made a friendship as well, emailing back and forth since the show. I was very excited to get this one out. Peter talks about growing up with Glenn Hughes, seen him a couple times, working with Trapeze, working with Uriah Heep. The whole story of why he left Uriah Heep is in this podcast, so if you don't know the real story and you're just following the rumors, you got to listen in and learn something new right here on Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio.
Hi, this is Terry Draper from Class 2.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Teenage Fan Club.
Hey kids, this is Vic from Star Collector.
Hey, this is Tyler Green,
Bowen Rat,
Jim Terrell,
Josh Bradley,
Paul Collins of the Nerves, the Breakaways, and the Beat.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Vinyl Man Jeb.
Let's just have a chat down here.
You're listening to Mad Wasp Radio.
Hey everybody, this is your host Vinyl Man Jeb of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio. I'm here with Peter Goalby today. How are you, Peter?
I'm fantastic. I'm just enjoying my 30-year-old overnight success.
Oh, yes. I very much love that album. I was talking with Billy from Glass Onion, and it was like, hey, if you want Peter, I was like, yes, I'm a big Uriah Heep fan, and I love Trapeze too, so we'll go through your whole career, and we'll get into the new album as well. We'll have a lot of fun today for you. So I'll start off with the first question. What got you into music?
Oh, when I was about 12 years old, in fact, it was an American program, and it was called, it was on in the UK, but I think it came from America, and I think it was called Hullabaloo. Does that make any sense?
That sounds familiar.
And it was all the folk bands. It was, Peter, Paul, and Mary. It was all acoustic stuff. The Springfields, which was actually Dusty Springfield was in that band, and Dusty still remains today as my favorite female singer in the whole world. So that's what started me off. And I think when I was, I'd be 12 or 13. And for Christmas, I was given a plastic, again from America, a plastic guitar. And it was an Elvis Presley guitar. And it was rather special because you could strap this little contraption onto the neck and press a button and it would say C or D chord, or E minor. But I didn't realize at that time it had to be in tuning before you started to do that, else it wouldn't make any sense. So, but that's what started me off. And I think within about a year of that, I was rehearsing with my first band in the local youth club.
Oh, wow. And then was that around the time with Fables came into play, or is that a little later?
Oh no, that was a million years before then. When I was in Fable, we did things correctly. We all tuned to each other, which when I was 14 I didn't. And we rehearsed things, and then the next Monday, because it was Monday nights and Friday nights, and Monday night we'd find something that sounded remotely musical, and then Friday we tried again, and because we didn't tune the guitars to each other, we could never understand why we could never recreate that piece of music. I mean, it's bizarre. It's completely bizarre. And I think I started off, I was the lead guitarist, but I was crap. I was rubbish. And I just started singing then, and because my mother used to sing in the choir when she was a girl. So at that time, I thought that's where it all came from. But I was just absolutely hooked on music. I love music. And I can remember one day at school, I'd only just started, and the music, it was a music lesson, and the music teacher played a chord on the piano. And he looked at the class and he said, "Can anybody tell me what chord that is?" And I said, C. And I was right. Little did he know, I only guessed, or was it real? I don't know. But he played the chord, and from then on, I was his favorite. And then what started off as a bit of a joke, when we had the music lessons, there was me and two or three other young guys, and we used to sing as loud as we could, but we were doing it as a joke. And the teacher insisted that we went and stood right next to him by the piano. So we became class favorites, if you like.
There you go.
And that's where the big voice came from. You know,
Oh, wow.
A lot of people sing from the throat, and I sing from my stomach.
And what a voice that you have. Wow.
It makes it a lot louder, Jeremy. It's a lot louder, believe me. So that's where it started, really. And it just went on from there. And then we changed a few people in the band. And then we found, we got a keyboard player. And that got it all very organized then. And then he showed everyone that you needed to tune the guitars to not only to each other, but to concert pitch. And once we got all that together, it was the only way was up. And I think my first gig was in an old, I don't know what you call it in the US, but we call it an old folks home. It's like a rest home for
I got you.
Yeah. A home for the bewildered, I used to call it. And that it all started from there. We played, I think we did a gig at the old folks home. And then the next real gig was we played in a pub, you know, like a bar. Mm-hmm. And I can remember that because we actually got paid. We got £6, which was great. But the problem was to transport the gear to the pub, the bass player's brother, because we weren't even old enough to drive, but the bass player's brother had got a van. And he offered to let us hire the van, but the problem was the van cost us £8, so we actually lost £2.
Oh, geez. That's when you know it's rock and roll, right? When you're losing money just on the pre-start.
I was straight in at the deep end, in debt.
Right as soon as you started, it's like that. Well, now you know it's rock and roll.
That's right.
So how was your time in the band Fables as we fast forward a million years? But how was that all started?
That was the grounding for me. That's where it all really started. I joined. There was a band before Fable actually, which was called The System, and both Fable and The System were cover bands. Fable was far superior, very professional, and before they were called Fable, they were called Lady Jane and the Royalty. So they had a girl singer.
Oh,
sort of. They used to do Mamas and Papas stuff and sing out of tune like the Mamas and Papas. But when I joined Fable, it all started. It was a cover band, but we were doing some. Everybody in the band sang, so we could do harmonies, we could do Queen stuff, we could do everything from anything and everything that was popular in the 70s. We would play. So we got a lead guitar, bass guitar, keyboards. The keyboard player played guitar also. I played guitar if need be. I played mandolin. And so we were really versatile. So we would end up playing the hits of the day. And really speaking, the cover songs that we did, we played them better live than the original bands played them on the record. I mean, it was a very, very good band. And we traveled to Germany. That was the big thing for us. In those days, on the Reeperbahn in Germany, there was the Star Club. That's where the Beatles started.
Oh, yeah.
Well before me. And there was another club called the Top 10 Club. And we went there with Fable, and we'd go for a month. You'd play 7 nights a week, and there'd be 2 bands, and you would do an hour on and then an hour off. So you probably end up playing 5 hours, maybe 6 hours a night, 7 days a week for 4 weeks. And so by the time you'd finished doing that, you either wanted to quit the business or you were totally obsessed with it. And I was the latter. I mean, Fable was from the same town as Trapeze. I knew Glenn very well. Glenn Hughes, as you know, left Trapeze to join Deep Purple. And I always remember a funny story. I've got to tell you this funny story.
Perfect.
Glenn was with Deep Purple, and he was home for a couple of days. and we lived in the same town. And as I say, we didn't grow up together, but because he was in Trapeze and I was with Fable. And anyway, Glenn phoned me up the one day and he said, "Do you want to play golf?" Because we used to play golf together. And I said, "Yeah, we'll play golf tomorrow afternoon." And he said, because I didn't drive a car in those days. And he said, "Can I meet you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I met him outside a club in Wolverhampton. This was just about lunchtime in the afternoon. And I was stood on the corner and I heard this rock music coming round the corner. And it was Glenn. And he got an open top Bentley car.
Oh, jeez.
Honestly, the last time I saw him, he got nothing. And he's come around the corner. He was singing full on, along with, I can't remember what the song was, but it was a rock song. It wasn't Purple. And it was a song of the time. And he pulled up with this Bentley, and it was just out of this world. He said, "Just put the golf clubs in the back," and we drove off. And we went to what's called a municipal golf course. It wasn't a private posh club. It was, for anyone to go and play. And I always remember, because Glenn's hair was that long, it was touching his bum, or you'd say ass. And we were walking around this golf course playing golf, and everybody was staring at us, and we couldn't understand why everybody was staring at us, because we looked like we were from another planet. And I think that was the last time I saw Glenn. But as I say, I was with Fable, and then when Glenn left, Mel Galley, for a period of time, Mel did the singing, did a great job. Mel was a very good singer, but his voice was was very fragile, and Mel would get too excited and he'd do a gig and he'd lose his voice. And so that's why they recruited me. And I was so proud, Jeremy. I was just so proud, because they were the biggest band around.
So it was like a step up. It was like, yes, Trapeze.
Wow, yeah. And I can remember Mel saying, would you come and rehearse with us and see, let's just see what happens. And we rehearsed in the local nightclub, which was owned by the guys that managed Trapeze. And it was just great. I mean, it was so powerful. I mean, Dave Holland was an incredible drummer. At that time, Pete Wright had taken over on the bass, and Mel Galley's guitar playing was, to me, it was just out of this world. It was just, what on earth is going on? Mel was one of these guitar players that, just a three-piece band, but it would sound like there were more people playing, if you can understand that.
Oh yeah.
He he filled it in so well. And anyway, we did, a few Trapeze songs, which I'd obviously learned. And then Mel said, "Have you got any songs?" Because I'd been writing songs by then. And I said, "Yeah." And I can always remember. And he said, "Well, let's try a few of your songs." And so I had to teach Mel how to play my songs. And we did a song called "Living on Love."
One of my favorites. Oh, yes.
And I tell you where that came from. There was a duo, Delaney and Bonnie. That's where I got those weird harmonies, those tight harmonies.
Oh, wow.
And there was a Delaney and Bonnie song. Nothing like "Living on Love," but that's what inspired me to write that song. I got a song which I thought was fabulous, which was "When You Get to Heaven." Sounds familiar. And we learned that, and it was just great, because those songs hadn't been played by what I would call the mighty musicians until that point. And all of a sudden my songs became more important. They sounded real, they sounded professional, and they stood up. And then don't ask me how I know. I think that got me the job. The fact that not only could I sing the Trapeze songs, I could contribute to the songwriting as well. And then when we did Hold On, the album, I was so thrilled. They sent me an acetate, which is just like a pre-album, just a
cool.
test. And all my songs were on side one, Jeremy. And I thought, wow. And I thought Mel's going to hate me for this, which he didn't. But it was just great. Of course, it inspired me. I thought, this is just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And when we came to America, I couldn't believe it. I didn't realize how big Trapeze were, because although we were well known in the UK, it wasn't a big band, it wasn't that important. We had a following, but when we hit America and we hit Texas, it was like, oh my God. I can remember we were supporting, we opened for Nazareth, and after the second gig, Nazareth said, do you want to go on last? They wanted us to headline, and we said, no, we're fine. And of course, it was just great. I loved it.
It's always great when the opening band is getting more exposure than the main band. It's like when the Rolling Stones did the Rolling Stones Circus, and it was, the Who overshadowed them with their 10-minute epic of a song. And it was like, oh my gosh. And the Stones were like, what do we do? So it's just so cool hearing that. And Trapeze has been one of my favorite bands, just of that classic rock power sound to it, and I love it so much. And that's the predecessors to metal, really. That's like when metal started getting like kind of that era, and I really love that.
Well, it was like funky metal. The way that Mel played, it was just, as I say, going back to what I said a few moments ago, you got this, it's an art. There aren't many guitar players that can do it, but the ones that do, they make the song sound really full. They don't need keyboards. They don't really need a second guitar. It's just guitar, bass, and drum. There you go, free. Paul
Classic
Rogers.
3-piece,
That's a perfect example, and the way they arranged tunes. It didn't need to be a big arrangement. It just, and the great thing is you get to be able to listen to everything. You listen to all the drum fills, whereas with a big band, the keyboards take away a lot of the space, and a lot of good music isn't about the music. It's about the space in between.
I know Frank Zappa was known for filling those spaces in with even more sound, It was always that kind of thing. So
we got Sky Arts on that. It's a TV channel. I was never really into Frank Zappa, but there was a program about him the other day, and I think I understand him a little better now.
He's definitely strange. I got to interview his sister, because I'm a Zappa head myself. Just I like the funky stuff, something different. And I love all types of music. That's what my show stands for. It's just everything in the pop rock realm. And it was cool seeing, talking with Patrice about just Zappa in general and getting a different light of him, getting the family side of him instead of just the music side. So it was really cool getting that kind of view from it. My next question for you, this is a fun one. This is how I really know you as a Bonamog. But when did you join Uriah Heep?
81, 82, isn't it?
Yeah. And how did that come about?
It's an interesting story, because it actually does involve Trapeze as well. Because I auditioned for Uriah Heep a year or 18 months earlier, and John Sloman got the gig. And it's really strange, because the way it was, I thought that Ken Hensley didn't want me in the band. I thought Ken was the one that said no. And I was watching a TV program, and it was just the opposite. It was an interview with Ken, and it was just after Ken had left the band. And part of the reason why Ken left the band is because they didn't hire me. What a great thing. I was so proud. He said, had we hired Peter, I'd still be in the band. He didn't agree with their choice. In the long term, it didn't work out for John with the band. So I'd already auditioned once, and then I got a phone call from Mickey, and this would be about a year and a half later. And he said, would I be interested in joining the band? And I said, I would still be interested in joining the band, obviously. They were a massive band. I mean, it was like, what? There's no way you would say no. I said, but the problem I've got is I'm going to America with Trapeze. And I said, I'll tell you what, we're going to America for 4 weeks. If when I come back from America, if you haven't found a singer, I'll come and we'll talk about it. Ooh. I would be interested. And anyway, I went to America. I was introduced to Texas and the Texas audiences with Trapeze, which was, it blew my mind. I thought, wow, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, when we came back from America, and I'd been back a couple of days, and the phone went, and it was Ashley Howe. Now, Ashley produced Abominog, and he also produced Head First.
Ooh.
And he said, do you want this job or not? I said, because I thought they'd have found a singer by, I'd been away a month or 6 weeks. He said, no. He said, we've actually auditioned 84 singers.
Jeez.
Honest, it's a true story. You can ask me. It was either 84 or 82, but I think it was 84.
Oh, wow.
I said, you've auditioned 84 singers. And I was just so flattered that they'd waited for me. And I said, yeah, definitely interested and very flattered and honoured about the whole thing. And I went down to London, went into rehearsals, and there was Lee Kerslake I'd never met before. Bob Daisley I'd never met before. John Sinclair I'd never met before. And Mickey I'd never really met before. Because when I did my original audition, I did it in the studio. Ken Hensley sent me 3 new songs, and I recorded them. So I hadn't really met the other guys. I go down to, I think it was a place called John Henry's, which is a rehearsal studio. I had an incredible time with Trapeze, but when we kicked off with Uriah Heep, it was up another level. And I think, in all honesty, I don't think to this day I was ever told that I got the job. It was just like a foregone conclusion. We got on so well. In fact, I was only thinking about this today, so this is a first.
Ooh.
I remember exactly what happened. I mean, I've done so many interviews over the years, but at my audition, bearing in mind that the first audition, I sang 3 of Ken's songs or recorded. What would be a good idea? I said, I can stand here and I can sing Gypsy and I can sing Easy Living. Wouldn't it be a good idea if we all started from a blank page? And everybody was sort of looking at each other. And I'd got a couple of songs that I'd been working on. And I said, why don't we just learn them together? So you've never heard it. I've never played the song with a band. Anyway, I think the first thing we did was Too Scared to Run. It nailed me against the wall. So we learned that song together. That went down so well. I said, well, I've got this other one. And that was Chasing Shadows. And so we put Chasing Shadows together. The lads put their input into the song as well, obviously. But that's how it all started. And then we started coming up with some Mickey came with some riffs. So Lee was very productive, although he was only a drummer. He wouldn't mind me saying that. But he was a good musician, you know what I mean? He wasn't just a drummer.
Yeah.
He came up with ideas and musical ideas. He would only go da 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 da. He'd lar them to you because he wasn't playing. All he got was his drums, and you can't really play a tune on a set of drums. So he and Bob Daisley were like so close, personally, socially, and musically, even more so. They were absolutely great together and totally understood each other. So that made a great rhythm section. And John Sinclair, who was, we always used to say, because John was classically trained, so he was a real musician, as they say. He could move keys around, he could change things, he could jiggery-pokery with arrangements. And Mickey was the riff, Mr. Riff. It just worked so well. It worked so well. And I think that within, 2 or 3 weeks, we were halfway there to Abominog. We went to Ridge Farm with the first batch of songs, which Jerry Bron didn't like, so he scrapped. And then Ashley Howe had a big input. He'd been collecting songs by other people, because at Bombernog there was quite a few outside songs. We did quite a few covers from other people. And Ashley was great. He came up with some decent songs for us. It just worked really well. It just worked really well. From day one, it was like, this is going to be great. And it was. It was. We didn't realise how big a Bombernog was going to be at the time, but the band were going through, or had been through, a lot of bad press for the previous year or so. And then suddenly a Bombernog was released. We did a big festival in the UK called Donington, which is nowadays called Download, a 2-day festival.
Oh, cool.
And I think we were second on, going back to what we were saying about us going on first and blowing everybody off the stage. It was, Jeremy, it was absolute classic. We were so good. We really were. Because we were just so enthusiastic. We'd only got 40 minutes, and rather than go on and do what the normal bands do, is just try and blow the roof off, which you can't do because it's outside and there isn't a roof to
blow the sky.
Yeah, you can't blow anything off. And I said, I'll tell you what we ought to do. We ought to do the Wizard. I'll start it on an acoustic guitar, just me on my own. Yes. It was like, how dare you? How dare you? And I said, I'll do it. No problem. And we did the Wizard. And it just went down so well. And of course, being in a band that got the history that the Heep have got, we got Easy Living. We finished with Easy Living. We got the single out, The Way That It Is was the encore, or the other way. I can't remember which way, or was it what? I can't remember which way around. Mm-hmm. But we absolutely killed them. And because it was one of the biggest ones in Europe at the time, the festival. There were so many European photographers and press people. And within 2 weeks of doing that gig, the offers were just coming from all over Europe, offers for us to headline, more festivals, considering we were only, I think, Status Quo headlined at Donington.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you who opened. Can you remember a band called Anvil?
Yes. Actually, I have them in my metal collection. I have a metal bin of all these bands.
Yeah. Well, they were first on, and they got cabbages thrown at them.
Oh no!
They did. Which they didn't deserve. They didn't deserve that at all. But I think that at Donington, it was like the ritual. Whoever went on first got canned up. I think 2 years before, Def Leppard did. Oh wow! Was it Pyromania, the first album? 2 years before that, I think they were canned off at a festival called Reading Festival, and 2 years later they were headlining it all over America.
And their now history is made with Def Leppard. I mean, that's history right there.
Yeah. In fact, I had an email conversation with Joe Elliott just a few weeks ago. He's been playing my album. God bless him.
Ooh.
He's got his own radio show on Planet Rock, which is the
cool.
biggest. Yeah, he's got his own show. He's got another show on another channel. But yeah, it was great.
I love all those bands. I grew up on like a mix of everything: the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, all the way to like a lot of the '90s stuff is what I follow. A lot of the like deep cut bands from that era, like all power pop stuff. And then I really got into Uriah Heep. I think it started with July Morning and stuff like that was big for me.
Yeah,
and
I used to sing that song.
There you go. I love that song. It's one of my tops.
Yeah, me too. I just used to love it. I mean, when I walked away and closed the door. And I've actually, when I left the band, I was writing songs, obviously, which I'd like to talk about in a minute.
Oh, yes, of course.
But in 1992, I walked away completely and shut the door, and I've never come back. I swore I'd never come back. Oh, wow. And that's why I say never. I'm here. Here I am now saying I'm never going to do it. But I loved it, Jeremy. The thing was with Heep, because we did the 3 albums, we were successful at that in the 80s in that period, but we still got so much to draw from the history. And you just saying July Morning, the Gypsy, And we played all these songs, and it was just one after the other. We go on and we do these festivals, mostly headlining, which was just absolutely fantastic. But we got the ammunition, you know what I'm saying? We got so many songs that as soon as you start the riff to Gypsy, the crowd would just explode.
Oh yeah.
Or John would just start the introduction on the keyboards to July Morning, and the crowd would explode. And it just went on and on and on. Every song that we did would stand up on its own, and the kids just used to love it. It was great. It was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, and is this during the time that you penned Easy with the Heartaches album, started working on that? Was that after you closed the door behind, or is that during that time?
No, everything on this album was done after I left Heep.
Okay.
What happened was I left in end of 85 or beginning of 86, and I was completely burnt out, not voice-wise. There was a rumor at the time that I had to quit music because my voice was in tatters. That's just completely untrue, totally untrue. What happened was I was very unhappy. I think I must have invented mental health. I think I caught it on tour from somewhere. And I was very unhappy. I was very unhappy with Equator, not the songs, but I was really unhappy with the way the album sounded, the production. I thought it was absolutely awful. There is a story that says that because Tony Platt, who was very good actually in the studio, but something happened. I don't know what happened, but Equator is a very difficult record to listen to. Not because it's bad, but the actual sound. There's too many overdubs. There's everything is swamped in reverb, and people find it difficult to listen to it. And that was the final straw for me. But I was so tired and burnt out with touring. The schedule, Jeremy, was just ridiculous. It was just too much. We got that many up. The problem was we were so popular that we never said no to anyone, or the management never said no. Oh, do you want to go to Australia? We did 36 shows in 42 days.
Jeez.
I remember standing in the reception of the Hilton Hotel in Hamburg, and somebody was stood behind me and kneed me in the back of my leg, so I nearly hit the floor. It's like kids do in the playground, you know?
Yeah.
And I turned around, Jeremy. It was Gary Moore. I knew Gary anyway.
Oh,
and he said, hello, Pete. He said, hello, Pete. I said, hello, Gary. How are you? We were chatting for a couple of seconds, and he said, your voice sounds really shot. I said, it is. I said, luckily, tonight is the 16th show back to back, and then tomorrow night. He said, hang on. What did you just say? I said, well, tonight is the 16th show in 16 days. He said, I tell you what, sack the fucking manager. And I just burst out laughing. And I said to Gary, Gary, this is Harry. And Harry Maloney, who was the manager at that time, was stood next to me. And I said, Gary, meet Harry. And that's what it was like, Jeremy. It was like, come on, more gigs.
Yeah, there was no break.
Yeah, we did 23. Yeah, we did one time. We did 23 countries in 30 days. That's countries.
Whoa.
23 countries.
I couldn't even imagine.
It was just
wow.
It was just madness. And I used to say to Mick, we need to just slow down. Why don't we just tour less and spend more time making the records? You know, I mean, we did 3 albums was it 3 years or 4 years? But what happened was, it was in the back of my mind to quit. I got a phone call from Harry, who we didn't fire, by the way. Should have done. Said, you're going to Australia. Now, bear in mind, we'd done Australia the year before, and it was a great success. And that was our problem. We were so successful, it just got worse because they wanted us to do more and more. Mm-hmm. And I saw the date sheet, and there was 36 gigs in 42 days. And I said to Harry Maloney, I said, if you make me do this, I'm going to quit. I don't want to do it. Anyway, I went to Australia, and we'd probably done about 2/3 of the shows. And Lee Kerslake took me fishing in the afternoon on the off the rocks, and I got laryngitis. Laryngitis is when nothing comes out; it's just air.
Oh, geez.
And I'd never had that in my life, Jeremy. I'd never had that ever.
Especially as a singer.
Anyway,
Holy moly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did the sound check, and I said, I've got a massive problem. I was singing, and there was nothing coming out. It wasn't that it was sore or it didn't hurt; it had just gone. And so I had to. We had to pull 4 dates. I think we stuck them on the end of the tour. I had 3 days or 4 days. I wasn't allowed to speak at all.
Jeez.
And so I did a lot of thinking, and I thought, this is it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And we did the last 4 shows. Everything, my voice came back. It's not a problem. But it had really woken me up to the fact that there's got to be more to life than just doing this. And so I told the guys who didn't really believe me. They thought I was just being awkward, or throwing my toys out of the pram, as we say in the UK, being childish. But I decided that was it. I'm not going to do this anymore. And we came back, and I got the itinerary for us due to go to Russia. I called a meeting with everybody, with the management as well, and they tried to persuade me to stay, and I said no, I don't want to do it. My heart's not with it anymore, and my head's certainly not with it. I'm going to quit, and I quit there and then. On that day,
Wow.
And I can always remember Lee was in tears, and he said, "If it means anything to you," he said, "you're the best singer that I've ever shared a stage with." And it was just a terrible thing, but it's something that I had to do. I had to do it. I couldn't continue doing what we were doing. And that's where the story came from. And because I refused to do any interviews from then on, because I quit completely. I wouldn't talk about the band. I wouldn't talk about music. All I was interested in was writing songs. And I declined from doing any interviews. So the story evolved that I quit the band because my voice was kaput. In other words, my voice had gone.
When that was just a very small section of one thing that wasn't even the story. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. And it suited everyone. It suited the band, because people would say, well, why's Peter gone? Why would you leave a successful band? Why would you do that? So it was all fueled and fired by Pete's got trouble with his voice. And when I left, I expected, I wasn't waiting for it, but I expected the phone to be ringing and for, bands for wanting me to go and sing with them. Not once. Nobody called. And somebody mentioned it to me a few months ago. The reason nobody called me was because they thought that my voice had gone. It was all over. But so that's when I really started writing songs seriously. And Mickey phoned me, I think it was I got a publishing contract with Rondo Music as a writer, not a record deal. It was just publishing, which was great. It gave me money, and it gave me time in the studio to record the songs that I was writing. And Mick phoned me when they were doing Raging Silence. And he said, have you got anything that would be suitable? And I actually wrote Blood Red Roses, especially for Raging Silence.
Oh, wow.
And I sent it down to the band. And then the next thing I knew, I got a copy of the album. And there it was. And they I have to say they made a great job of it. In fact, they made me very jealous. I wish I'd sung it myself now. I wish I'd made it. And what a very funny episode when the album came out. It was on a Saturday afternoon, and the album was out. And they were in the UK. They were playing Blood Red Roses on the radio, and my phone went, and my brother. I've got two brothers, but my older brother, because he didn't really want me to quit the band. You know, he loved the fact that I was in Uriah Heep. Anyway, he phoned me up and he said, "You fool." And I said, "What?" He said, "You're a bloody fool." He said, "Have you heard Uriah Heep's new record?" He said, "It's fantastic and it's going to be a big hit." I said, "Don't, whoa. I said, "I wrote it for them." So it was around that time. It was around that time, Jeremy. I can't tell you. I've told the story so many times. It was almost as though something clicked and I found myself writing really good songs. I mean, I believe I'd written good songs before, but these songs, and which are on the new album at the moment, Easy with the Heartaches, were to me in a different league. It was like, wow, where did that come from? And you know, each and every song that's now on the album, I was so excited when I'd finished writing them, and I was lucky enough to be able to go into the studio and do the demos, because Easy with the Heartaches, believe it or not, is a collection of demos. They've not been remixed. They were remastered.
Oh, wow.
But that is exactly as they were. They were written between 86 and 89 or 90, over a three-year period or 4-year period. And that's part of the reason why the album is so strong. Normally, you get a few months to write the album. I took a lot of time and tried to make the songs as best I possibly could. And when I got to I'd got about 20 odd songs that I thought were absolutely top-notch songs. But I kept waiting and waiting for that right moment for the big break. And I waited till about, I think it was 1992, and I couldn't wait any longer. And I thought, what have I got to do? What more as a writer? How good are the songs? How good do they have to be before people are going to say, we want to do an album with you? Because nobody did. Nobody offered me a record deal. I did a couple of singles with Mickey Most on the Rack label, which is a pop. Mickey Most was into, you know, Susie Quattro and Mud and Sweet and all that. It wasn't really me, but, you know, at least he offered me a record deal of sorts. And that was the closest I got to being in the studio. But I didn't really get much of a say in the production or what was done with the songs. So the rockier side of what I did was still pushed aside. And no one in that period came to me and said, right, we want to make, you know, well, basically nobody wanted to sign me. So in 1992, I said to my wife, there's got to be more to life than this. Mm-hmm. And I was right, actually, because I've had a great life since, away from music. But the only way for me to stop was for me to stop completely. I haven't played a guitar since 1992. I haven't seen a band live. Oh, I did. I went to see Bryan Adams. That's about the only person I've seen. I've had nothing to do with music. I don't play music. And then, so for me to come full circle and have this success now, it's absolutely blown my brains. It's blown my mind.
It's got to be incredible. An extreme feeling to be like, I'm done. And all of a sudden now, you know, you're getting that, like, the deserve that you deserve. You're one of the coolest singers I've ever heard in rock history. And it's just, again, an honor. And thank you for coming on to Unlikely Places.
I'm enjoying it. I love it. I'm just soaking it up. I'm 71 and a half years old.
That is awesome to still to get this finally.
And finally, I'm an overnight.
I love the term, the overnight sensation. Am I right?
The thing is, it's worldwide. It's doing well in Australia. It's doing well
awesome.
in Japan. It's doing well.
You deserve this. This is awesome.
Everywhere, all over Europe. I'm a big star in Spain. They absolutely love me.
That's awesome.
Because nowadays, I mean, I'm totally out of touch, but the people don't rely so much on the chart, the top 50 or the top 20.
No, they don't. Yeah, it's not much.
Radio stations have their own playlists, and they have their own top 20 and favorite songs that they play. My first sniff of success was in the Netherlands. That was immediate. The album came out on November the 20th, I think it was. And by the middle of December, in Holland, they were playing not just one track at a time. They would play 2 songs back to back. And so, awesome. And then Spain and Italy and France and Germany and all followed suit. I've had a number 6. I've had a number 4. I've had a number 3. I've had a number 1 on the playlist. The album's been album of the week all over the world. Programs have,
and it will be on my show too, definitely. I'm very excited.
Thank you, God. Thank you.
I am so honored. I talked to Billy. He gave me the list of all the folks that he has on his roster, and he was like, pick and choose. I'm like, this is like a kid in a candy shop of all my heroes on a list. I'm like, holy moly. And I was just like, I really want Peter. I really love Abanamag is one of my top albums, and it's just something I really wanted to just hear the story from your eyes and your story, instead of hearing it from the internet and whatever stories made. And it's been such an honor to be able to communicate with you. And you're gonna have your own whole special on the radio show. I'll set it up for you in a couple weeks. I got a couple shows I gotta edit first, but definitely very exciting to have you. And I'll drop my email to Billy to give to you, so we can keep in touch as well. Because I definitely love to. I'm a musician too, so I'm not just the radio host.
So what do you do? What do you play?
I play guitar, I write music, and I sing, and I also am in a couple bands, and I run a record label too, which is a different kind of label. We're a family label, not a force everybody to tour a million times all over the place. We're very much of a, hey, can you get me a song in a couple months? We'll help you release it type label. And it's been very rewarding. I met with one of my artists for the first time, and we just started a month ago, and we're already booming and running because people want something different. They don't want this, this whole corporation type deal. They want people that are actually human and play music too, or have a radio show. So it's been so exciting to do what I do. And I actually met Billy through interviewing Joey Molland of Badfinger, which is one of my very favorite 70s bands. And it's been such a cool, I love Badfinger, but it's been such a really cool journey. And this is just beginning. I know this is just the beginning, but it feels like it's another door is opened, and it's just been so cool, to hear these stories that, we glorify rock as like this cool, really cool thing, but there's some darker sides to it. And really, thank you for shining a light on, and I love to learn from hearing, and I listen to these interviews.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
We had some absolutely fantastic times. Did some absolutely amazing gigs. Funnily enough, I was watching Sky Arts, the TV program I was telling you about. And it was a couple of months ago. It's been on twice now. And the first time I was watching it, it was a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon. And I said to my wife, Lynn, I said, look at the size of that gig. And there must have been, 15, 20,000. It was indoors. There must have been 15 or 20,000. It was the Eagles.
Oh, live. There you go.
and it was just so funny. I said, look at the size of that gig. How fantastic to be able to do something like that. And then the commercial break came on, and I saw the titles, and it was the LA Forum. And I said to my wife, I said, I've done that twice.
Hey, look, I've been there. I've done that.
We did it twice. Because it's been so long ago. But I looked at it, and I can remember doing the Texas Jam. I think I did the Texas Jam. I think I did it with Trapeze in 81. And I stood on the same stage a year later with Uriah Heep in 82. And so don't get me wrong, I'm not Mr. Doom and Gloom. There was some fantastic,
I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we played India. That was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just loved it. But it just got too much. It just got too much for me. As I say, I didn't realise at the time But as I say, nowadays they talk about mental health, but I think that I was one of the first to suffer from it. It was just too many gigs.
Yeah, it's that, and you hear like all the like, oh, you know, all this, and I see all these bands now. You can see that they're tired, they're exhausted, and they're not even doing anywhere near what you were saying, like the 46, countries, different, the amount of countries, and you hear like they're just tired from a couple tours across the U.S. It's incredible to hear these stories.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, Mickey Box is still doing it.
That's crazy.
He's still doing it. I mean, they don't do the schedules that we were doing. I mean, there's a rule of thumb. There always was a rule of thumb with professional bands. You do 2 or maximum 3, and then 1 off. If you look at all the big tours, look down the itinerary, and it'll go the 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th, 12th. 15th, you know what I mean? There's no more than 3 back to back. You can't do it. Not singing full on.
No, it's not good for your voice either, especially if that's your instrument, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But,
Peter, I want to thank you so much. I'll leave the last forum to you if you wanted to say anything to the viewers, if anything, and I'll leave that for you.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for staying with me, and I'm thrilled that you even remember me.
I'm 22 and I'm just living the rock life through these podcasts, and I enjoy it so much. Being a musician too, being inspired by a lot of different angles, from a different generation. But it's so cool to be able to look at my record collection, which I do have. I had my dad helped with that, of course, and
I'm sure.
Being able to see all these records and going, I spoke to that person, is such a feeling that I can't describe to anybody. Other than people in the field, they get it. But it's just such a cool feeling that I've been able to take this path, and thank you for being part of that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I will say one thing. The songs that are out now are a part of a collection of 20-odd songs. So there's a follow-up album. There is a follow-up album. It's called I Will Come Running, and it's going to be released, I think it's middle of May this year.
Ooh, now I'm excited.
so there is a second album, but that's it then. That's me done. So we've got Easy with the Heartaches and the follow-up album, I Will Come Running, and then that's me done.
And you have every right to be. You have such a career that I'm in awe, and I love it. So thank you so much, Peter, for coming on today. And I'll let Billy know I have a buddy that does a podcast in Australia that might be able to help you with the album too, if you're interested. And he's got way bigger reach. He's a friend of mine. I'll let Billy know that you're interested, and it's called Straight to Video Podcast, and he does like a lot of 80s like metal bands and stuff. And I asked him because we're buddy. He supports my label, so I help him out if I have a guest on that he likes. Yeah, I'll let him know. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
I'd love to do it.
Enjoy listening to
we did quite a lot of TV in Australia, because we did Australia twice, and I loved it, but again, it was just too much. Understandably,
yeah. No, I can't even imagine doing it. I get tired going to the bar to play on an open mic sometimes, which, speaking of which,
there you go.
Tomorrow I'm actually a featured artist for the first time in my life, and I'm very excited for that. So I get to go to the open mic and be like, I got to talk to Peter Goalby. You guys just listen to my music.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Peter.
You just stick with it, Jeremy. Stick with it.
Thank you.
You're tuned into Mad Wasp Radio, so don't forget where you are. Don't change that dial.